Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD. It's always JD, and it's always Michelle.
We got it right.
We did. You tried to interrupt when we were trying to get it right. You forgot there's a second line, but it's okay. We pushed through. We did it. We got it right. It's so rare.
You got the line. I didn't try to interrupt. Okay, maybe I did. That's not the point.
You were so excited about getting the first part right that you forgot there's a second part. That's how much we don't get it right a lot of the time. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, especially if it's your first time. We love a good first-timer here. Love a good We Watch Shudder virgin. You guys are sometimes my favorite.
But also, what took you so long?
Yeah, also what took you so long. We're super famous, and everybody should have known and loved our podcast by now. So how dare you, but also thank you. Here at We Watch Shudder, we watch Shudder. It's in the title. You know what's up. Today, we did watch Shudder. We don't always. We do, but not always. But today, yes. JD, what did we watch?
A movie.
Super cool.
I'm so clever. We watched the latest Shudder exclusive release, just dropped today. One that you actually saw a couple of months ago and talked about briefly on our Michelle in review for that month. But this is the debut feature from Caitlin Cronenberg of Cronenberg fame. It's called Humane.
That it is. Yeah. It's called Humane. It's a movie. I think it's the first full length, but Caitlin has directed a few shorter things that I tried finding after watching this a couple months ago, and I could not track them down. So I am curious, but I have not seen her other work.
Do you think, Michelle,
yes, I do think sometimes. It's difficult, but I try my hardest.
Well, I mean, you are a lady, so, you know.
Women don't think. We're just pretty faces.
Oh,
sorry,
well, some of you. Oh, Lord God, what am I doing?
Whoa.
Jesus.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Coming out swinging.
Forgot who I was there for a moment. Anyway, the question I was going to ask you, do you think that maybe there's a little bit more reality from David Cronenberg's life in... I guess I should ask you first, have you seen The Brood?
No. Is that a Cronenberg film? The Daddy Cronenberg, not the Caitlin
Yeah,
Cronenberg?
this question is totally irrelevant if you've never seen The Brood. I was going to ask you if you thought maybe his kids were also filmmakers because they were made more like the little kids in The Brood, but you don't know how the little kids in The Brood were made, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. So that's how this show goes. When we don't prepare things beforehand, sometimes I think I'm going to ask something real clever, and then I forget that Michelle is terribly lacking in cinematic knowledge prior to 1980. Because
that's
old
true.
Movies, ew.
Oh, that's not true. I was the one who liked the Vincent Price movie more.
You're very right.
The Last Man Standing.
The Last Man on Earth.
Okay,
The Last Man Standing. Yeah, that's the one. With Bruce
I'm
Willis
sure
and
there's
Vincent Price.
There's at least one person out there who is listening going, yeah, that is a great idea. Yes, The Brood. I know exactly what you're talking about. So there's at least one person. I'm just not the person. So
I'm just saying maybe because they all make movies.
Yeah,
I don't know if there are any of them who haven't made movies yet, but I bet if there are more Cronenbergs, they're going to make more Cronenberg movies.
The Cronenbergs will definitely make Cronenberg movies just by default. All the movies are Cronenberg movies. I'm
with it.
Yeah. Well, we should get with it and fire off this IMDb description. Script. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to do it?
Yes, I do. So we always have a hard time picking the description that we're going to use for our movies because you guys, they're too spoilery. Just give me minimal information, especially when it comes to horror and horror-adjacent films. So for this one, I am taking the first part of IMDb's description. I know that JD and I, despite accidentally spoiling many things, We are also very like that we want minimal information. So we're going to give you guys minimal information, and then we will get into a spoiler section in a bit. So, yes, JD.
Also, I want to add in that a lot of our spoilers happen in the heat of the moment of an intense discussion, and that's a whole different scenario from writing a description of your own film to put on the internet. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on movie trailers right now. Speak No Evil
God,
remake.
Speak No, God damn it.
I know.
Oh.
Okay, description. We can't do this to ourselves. We gotta truck through. I have so many thoughts on this movie.
I could talk about that Speak No Evil trailer for hours. God
I know,
damn it.
that's why I'm cutting it off. I got to talk about this movie in front of us, and I drink a lot of Red Bull. So, Humane, part of the IMDb description. In the wake of an environmental collapse that is forcing humanity to shed 20% of its population, a family dinner erupts into chaos. Humane, 2024, rated R, hour and 33 minutes. Oh my God, yes, so close to a 90-minute mark. Thank you. Not all movies have to be 3 hours. Just hour and a half. If you can't tell me the story in that time, I don't want to hear it. I don't even want a sequel. Ugh.
I love that I'm getting more and more people on board with this 90 or less. Because if you take the credits out, it's $1.28. It's right where it needs to be. You know, it's.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely pro 90-minute. I watched Vine when Vine was a thing. If you could give me a 7-second clip and tell this whole story, great, super efficient. Love
Did you ever get into Tout?
Into what?
Tout. It was like Vine, only it was like 10 seconds instead of 5, and the WWE partnered up on it and tried to promote the hell out of it, and it failed miserably.
Nope, I'd never even heard of it. Also, for the record, Vine was 7 seconds. Thank you very much. Not 5. That's too short.
Whatever.
Okay. JD, would you like to hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
As the one who had not seen this yet and watching it for the first time, look, here's the thing, is there's enough baggage on Caitlin Cronenberg's shoulders just being the daughter of David Cronenberg. And then her brother Brandon got to the party several years before she did and has received a lot of credit of his own. And so now she's got both of those things to kind of live up to and compete with. I feel like Brandon definitely has moved into some similar areas to things that their father did. I think the best thing about this is it's not like I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this expecting some Cronenberg lineage in the film, like visually and stylistically, and I appreciate that she's doing her own thing here. This is a very different movie than what I expected to get. It's a very interesting movie. I will say that I feel like a lot of the backdrop, bigger issues and themes at play were a little more interesting than the small story, because that's the kind of movie this is. It's a very small, intimate story set against a very severe and significant backdrop. And so, yeah, I thought the context of the story was a little bit more interesting, but I really, really enjoyed this. Third act was a little unsatisfying, but overall, I had a good time. It's a movie I would watch again. It's a movie I would recommend. I'm giving this one 4 skulls.
4 skulls out of 5. 5 whole skulls. We're taking 4 of them. You can throw one of the skulls in the garbage and hope that your home does not get haunted.
Or perhaps we just leave that skull and nobody takes it.
But then you build the house on top of it, and we know what happens then, poltergeist.
Oh, no,
you gotta move
Pet
the skull.
Cemetery. All right, anyway. Michelle.
Yeah?
I would like to hear your spoiler-free thoughts now.
Oh, too bad. I don't feel like... No, I do. I have so many thoughts. Okay, I took a lot of notes.
Most things don't work out.
Yeah, that's true.
Badger Briggs' t-shirt said so.
It's true. It's a great t-shirt.
If you haven't seen it, check out our Instagram and Facebook. We put a picture of it up on there last night. Well, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I did.
You did. I was.
One of these days, Michelle is going to make me understand that 2 o'clock in the morning is the wrong time to post things on Instagram.
Oh, that's when I post my best things on Instagram. They just get deleted the next day.
Oh, okay.
It's like Snapchat just lives for a fraction. Okay, my review. Okay. I have so many thoughts, and I think part of it is that I drank a lot of Red Bull, and I'm on new medication that makes me react differently to caffeine, as I'm learning today, because I had a very large Red Bull. I was like, I'm very tired. I need the biggest Red Bull. And so I drank the biggest Red Bull, and I'm realizing that was a mistake because I've seen this movie once before, and I thought I got it, and now I watched it a second time, and I feel so much like I got it. And then I read reviews, and I feel like other people are not pointing out the things that I saw in this movie. So now I don't know if I picked up on things that other people didn't, because I did have time to go read some things, and if that's what happened, or if it's the Red Bull. I truly don't know. But there were so many reviews that I read from people who don't agree with me, and that's what I like to do. I like to read other people's opinions, because then I feel like I actually kind of firmly decide, like, oh, well, that's how I feel, because I'm very much opposed to what you say, and I'm starting to realize, like, I understand it. Anyway, Red Bull, you guys. I really love this movie. I liked it a lot more the second time around. And I think it's because I knew what was coming, and the first half of this movie, fucking great. It is very dark comedy and satire. Unfortunately, it just kind of drops all of that in the second act, or maybe the third act, and that was a disappointment. The first half, though, I really adore. I don't know if it's an issue with the script, an issue with the directing. I don't care. What I do know is that I do want to see more from not only director Caitlin Cronenberg, but writer Michael Sparaga. Did not Google it. I never do. So whoever Michael S. is, I want to see more from both of them. The bigger issues here, like you said, JD, I was so interested in learning more about that, and now knowing what that was, a lot of my notes have to do with the foreshadowing and the small things that you don't catch on your first time watching. So loved it. I could have done with a stronger ending. However, because of what I think I saw that apparently a lot of people did not see, I like how it wraps up, as in, like, the end result. I just don't like how it gets there, if that makes sense. Like, it's the very, very end that I'm like, oh, I do like that this is the outcome. I just wish we got there a little bit differently. So not going to be a 5 from me. It is going to be a 4.5 right now, and it is one that I added to my list to reconsider when it comes to my best of 2024 list, because I do really enjoy this, and I think there's some really interesting stuff happening here, but I also don't know if I made it up because I have a lot of caffeine in my system. So 4.5 from me, 4 from JD, gives it an average of 4.25 human skulls.
Yes, 4.25 skulls. So you would say in a lot of ways, Michelle, this was not in the sense that you disliked it the first time, but you had a similar experience to me, like what I had with Late Night with the Devil. Like, the second time you saw this, you started to see more and more things that you were sure were happening?
Actually, I think this was a stop motion for me, where you liked it, but felt like, are there deeper things that I'm not seeing? And then the second time around, you went, oh my God, it's so much deeper than I thought.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not going to say that. If you guys haven't listened to JD's thoughts on stop motion, he saw a lot of things that people did not see. And I don't think what I saw is deep like stop motion. I just felt so compelled and like, yes, this is absolutely what the story is. How does nobody else see it? I was like, with my murder board, with pictures and strings and scene. And it's not a deep thing. It's just like, how is nobody else catching this? Why? Yeah. It didn't feel like a deep thing.
Why is nobody talking about this part of it? I'm curious to hear what this is now, because I want to know if it is something that I picked up or if you're going to totally blow my mind right now, because I feel like, I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed this, but a lot of what I saw I felt was really obvious. So
Same. Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about it, but
yeah, let's get into spoiler territory.
This is where if you do want to see the movie before we spoil a bunch of things, you're gonna want to stop listening now. But please make sure you come back to finish. You know what? Honestly, if you don't come back, it doesn't matter, because if you've made it this far into the episode, we've already gotten credit for your play. I just really want you to enjoy what we do here and understand that it's not all about the plays.
But you contradicted yourself.
I know.
We already... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that the point? Kind of like this fucking movie? Okay.
Right. I want the plays, but it's not about the plays.
Yeah, exactly. You care about the plays. I care about them enjoying us. JD is only here for the fame. That's why when I said, like, how dare you? Yeah, how dare you not listen to us before then? That was serious. JD only exists.
First chance I get, I'm leaving you in the dust and flying this ship all the way to stardom.
Oh, thank God. I can't wait for all the free time. I put way too much time and energy into our side project.
I don't know if I would call it too much. We put in exactly how much energy we want to put, I think.
I made 438 graphics last week of different dimensions for the RSS feeds and the YouTube channel. So
2 for each episode in existence, so that she could update. So we will have unique images on each episode that feeds out into your podcasts, and unique episodes on every YouTube. That's
exactly. I'm a little behind, so I know this is episode 223. So I'm a little behind, but
Jesus,
you know what?
223 episodes. We're so old, Michelle. God, how did this happen? All right,
I don't
Michelle.
know. Yeah.
Here's where this needs to start, is I need you to, as you always do, summarize the plot of this film.
Yeah, and here's what always happens. I fucking forget that I'm doing this and don't, like, rehash important names or, the things that people who prepare would do. But, okay, I'm going to give it my best. Let's do this.
What fun is preparation?
True.
Guys, I don't think when I say that we literally hit record anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes after I finish watching the movie, not just me today, Michelle as well. We literally just finished this. There's no preparation.
I had to be fresh for it.
Here we go. Michelle,
okay,
take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a family of Yorks. Are they New Yorks? I don't know. Are they old Yorks? They're just Yorks. They don't specify their ages. Except for we have eyeballs, so we kind of know how old they are. But there's this one guy, he's Daddy York. I forgot which one. Charles? Probably.
Yes.
So Charles York, he's a dude, and he has 4 kids. And he also has a wife, whose name I have also forgotten. Dawn, thank you, IMDb, for giving me this list I can quickly look at. Except the problem is, all the names are Jared York, Rachel York, Charles York. And I'm like, oh God, which Yorks do I need? Just Daddy York is what we're calling him going forward. So Daddy York and Stepmommy York, they invite all of Daddy York's kids over, the little Yorks. And the kids are adults and they got problems. So he wants to tell them, as we talked about in the description, that there is a forced... Oh, yes, JD.
Might I recommend Yorklings?
Ooh, okay. That was an appropriate interruption. Yorklings. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So Yorklings. That's great. I just want that to be a word I use all the time. Like, come on, my little Yorklings. I'm going to call some of my friends that. Nobody's going to know what it's from because none of you fucking listen to our show. Just kidding. Hi, guys. Hi, Peyton. Hi, Kristen. I know you're out there. Okay. Anyway, Jenna, who never watches the movie. Jenna, you're definitely out there. You're part of our fanverse now. We watch Shudderverse. Okay. So, like the description on IMDb says before it gets too spoilery, 20% of the population needs to be eliminated because there's too many fucking people. You ever walk into a party and you're like, there's too many fucking people? That's what's happening here, but it's a whole planet. It's a whole party that you did not want to be at, but you're forced to be at. And there's too many people and you just want to go home. So what they're doing is they're trying to get people to off themselves or let somebody else off you. Whatever. As long as you're dead, that's all that matters. That's the end result that they're going for. And they are compensating people who do this in the form of money because you know what? Nothing else matters. Gotta get that moolah. So Daddy York invites his Yorklings over for a dinner, and he said, "Adult Yorklings only, please." And then one of the Yorklings, she went, "No, I brought my littlest Yorkling, your Yorklingette. She's a teen, and I had to bring her because I am getting her bullied at school." And this is how we start learning that the Yorklings, not great people. One of them is kind of starting a redemption arc, maybe, not positive, where he used to do a lot of drugs, and then he killed a lady while driving a car, and his Daddy York, paid off the people so that he did not go to prison. And then the one York with the Yorklingette, obviously I do not know any of these people's names, but there's 4 of them. We're gonna get through it. Okay, so we got Rehab York. That's what we're calling him, because he's in rehab, and that's the important plot. We got Politician York is what we will call Jay Baruchel, whatever. Jay, we're very close, Jay and I, so I will refer to him as such. Jay York. He is on the TV encouraging people to die for the sake of their planet, and everybody's pretty pissed off about that. And he's saying, "I would like my son to enlist," and they're like, "No, you don't." And he's like, "Absolutely." And then later he's like, "No, I don't. Are you kidding?" So he's a politician, York. I think he's actually like an anthropologist or something, but such a politician-y guy. And then we've got, I don't know what Emily Hampshire actually does. She works in the pharmaceutical industry. And she created some sort of prescription that she knew was harming people and didn't take it off shelves because money is the whole point. And then we've got the other Yorkling who doesn't seem to have done anything as terrible as her siblings. And I think that feeds into the hidden message that apparently a lot of people are just not talking about. And we'll get back to that. Her biggest crime right now, as far as I know, is trying to be an actress. So we got actress York in the mix too. So we got Jay York, Rehab York, Emily Hampshire, and actress York. That's our cast of characters. So Daddy York, he calls all of his Yorklings together. And he's like, "Hey, I'm rich. Do you remember that?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're all rich. Isn't it great?" And then he's like, "Well, despite that, I've decided I'm going to die for the sake of being a good person." And then all the Yorklings are like, "That's not meant for you. You're not one of the people who's supposed to die. That's for the people below us." And then he says, "No, I have to because I was a news anchor and I saw the terrible things going on. And now I had 4 children and I contributed to the overpopulation. So I feel bad about it, and I got to get out of here." And then he tries to back out of the whole thing, and there's more. I'll come back to it. There's so much. I'm trying to set the groundwork for all these things I'm going to circle back on. I'm just going to assume most of you have seen it though. Okay. He tries to back out of the deal. He doesn't want, or he's forced into the deal, coerced, blackmailed into the deal again. He dies, and then the stepmom York, she had run off, and then the guy Bob, who was a corrections officer and is now just there to euthanize people. He's like, "No, I need 2 bodies. So if your stepmom ran off, I need another one of you." But then it turns out he just likes watching people die. We'll come back to all of that later. At the end, the actress York, she died. Rehab York's girlfriend died. The media portrays it as though they were just 2 really good friends who decided to take the leap and give one for the team. And then Rehab York, he is now a famous pianist, and everybody's happy. That's how we're gonna sum it up, because there's so much to talk about, and I got really into the weeds. So we're just gonna sum it up as that. Happy ending. Or is it?
Or is it?
Oh, I wrote down so many notes, and I realized talking about my notes is going to be a struggle, and I don't want to make these people listen to me monologue about the plot.
Okay. So here's what I would like to do, Michelle, is I have an idea. First of all, I don't think this movie is about just any one thing. I think Caitlin Cronenberg, or not Caitlin Cronenberg, the writer of the film, excuse me, Michael Sparaga, had some shit on his mind and some things that he wanted to talk about. And I think I know what's, at least a lot of what's, but I want to know, because, guys, when we got connected to record this episode, Michelle was just furiously typing away. She didn't even say hello. Just type, 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 type,
I
type,
went,
type
meh.
for several minutes. And I was like, "Are you ready?" She's like, "No, I've got notes to type."
Yeah.
Michelle, maybe more so than I have seen with any episode we've done, has some things to say, and I'm just gonna let her do it. Go until
Okay.
you're done.
Well, I'm going to say something very short, and then I want you to tell me if I'm right. Because here's the
Okay.
thing. I read a lot of reviews today because this was a rewatch and I was curious how other people felt about it. And a lot of the reviews say that they don't like it because you have to root for bad people and that the bad people win in the end. Is that not the point? It's that the bad people win in the end and we're not
Uh,
supposed to be happy about that?
that's the impression that I got.
Okay. See, I don't think it's that deep. But that people kept saying that they hate that this whole movie is just discovering that these people are bad. And that's the whole point. Okay, there's a lot to get into. We start, I think, with the satirical beginning and the whole like flippant behavior everybody feels about what's going on that really sets the stage and solidifies what I feel about this movie later on. I think it loses people because the second act becomes just like a very serious thing with very little humor, and then we forget like, oh yeah, it was flippant deliberately and it was satirical. There's so much stuff in the very beginning saying that tone. We've got these news reports about the overpopulation going on in the world, and then it's happening over this jazzy song about I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So it's telling you we feel very meh about how terrible things are. We're getting all of these glimpses at other people who are lower income, middle income, whatever, lower than the York income is, and how they're affected by this. But then in the meantime, we got Jay Baruchel, Jared York. I just looked. He's pulling up in his smart car that is definitely gasoline and not electric. And his smart car warns him about the UV levels before he gets out of it. And then he's telling his wife, ex-wife, whatever, that he's gonna go out past prohibited curfew because he wants to go talk to his son. And like that's the biggest issue he has going on in his life today is like, oh, his son's kind of mad at him. In the meantime, like they have to have windows that are covered in film so that the sun doesn't fully get into your house because it's so fucking hot. You have to cover yourself with a blanket if you're outside for too long because it's so fucking hot. Jay Baruchel's sister has like a DIY interior car film thing going on where she couldn't afford to have like the really nice smart car. She duct taped up her own film just doing what she could. So it's just ridiculous that like we're seeing these people don't actually feel affected by this because it's not their problem. They know that other people are going to die and they don't have to and everything will be fine. And God, that's so close to current events and we're not going to get into it too much. But like he even says like, why would you enlist? You don't need the money. Those rules aren't made for people like us. Like it's just, oh God, it's so yeah. And then when you think somebody might be a good person, they turn around, they're not. Because here we are with the Daddy York. He is having his children come over and he's saying, I'm going to make penance for having so many children. And I'm very widely respected. One of the people on the TV later in the film says something like, I have a lot of respect for Charles York, but not so much his children. So like this is a guy who was beloved, even though his kids kind of suck. Like he was a well-liked person and everybody thought so. His kids, maybe he was a little distant, but he wasn't the worst dad ever. They're sad that he will be killing himself. So he can't be the worst father ever. The one son who was adopted clearly has a pretty good relationship with his father, although obviously strained because of his drug use. So all of these things are indicating that this guy might have a redeeming factor in how he is trying to go through with the euthanasia program, despite the fact that they don't need the money. He just wants to do a good thing. And then when the guy, Bob, shows up to carry out the procedure, and Charles is just very flippant, like, oh, well, my wife's not here. Can we reschedule? I'll die on another day. And then Bob pulls him into another room. This whole time you're thinking, like, maybe Charles is making up for what's gone on, making up and being like a really good person at the end. And then Bob tells him essentially, like, I have all of this dirt on you, and I will release it if you do not kill yourself. And a lot of the reviews I saw were saying, like, oh, well, he was just going to wind up on a coward's list. Why is that so bad? No, he wasn't. Listen to the subtext there. He cheated on his wife, clearly had an affair, because as Bob has explained this, he's saying, like, wow, yeah, it would suck to really destroy your marriage in that way, wouldn't it? Don't worry, I'll still respect you despite whatever list you wind up on. What other kinds of lists are there? I think he's a child predator. I think, like, that's the kind of list and dirt they had on him, and in order to keep his name golden, he had to go through with it. That's the kind of shit they had on this guy. So even right before he dies doing this good thing, now he's revealed to be a bad person. Bob is clearly not great, but kind of like in a funny way, because he's like, sorry, one of you rich fucks gotta die. And then he's trying to say, like, oh, well, it's because his wife had to be euthanized and he didn't really agree with it, and these rich people should pay for it, and how dare they let the lesser folk like take one for the team. But then like you find out that's not true, because the one son, his girlfriend gets shot, and he's like, no, that's still not good enough. And Dawn is located, and he's like, man, just bring her to the building. And he admits, like, yeah, I just like watching people die. So even he's a shitty person. The only person who doesn't seem to be that bad is the one daughter who does die, the girlfriend who dies, and then this teenage girl who, she's fine, but she's probably gonna be a shitty person growing up because of this whole family. So the whole thing, like, yeah, they are unlikable. That's the whole movie, is that this whole thing is fucked, and it's a great reflection of current events. In order to equate it to COVID, for example, like, people thought, like, oh, well, this is beneath me because I work from home. I don't care if the grocery store workers are out there because I'm still living my life. Who gives a fuck about the other people? I saw a lot of that firsthand. So, and also a lot of people are trying to say, like, well, I can't tell the politics of this film. It doesn't matter. It's not a side. That's not the point. The point is to eat the rich. That is the point. The politics, I don't care if you're saying, like, well, I don't understand, like, were they like fascist liberals? Were they really bad Republicans? Like, I couldn't tell. That's not the point. The point is so clearly that the bad people win regardless of what you do. Yeah, I had some thoughts. Okay, JD, I gotta take a drink of water.
Okay, so I a couple of things that I want to respond to in that. First of all, I don't know that I would say that nobody in the film is likable. I think Noah is a likable character in the sense that his problems, like Jared is actively politicking to save himself and keep himself above things. Rachel allowed medication that she knew was a problem to stay on the market. Like, these are bad people. What Noah did is he became an addict and he accidentally killed somebody. You know, and that's terrible. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of terrible. Right?
I completely agree with you. Yeah, and where he's starting his redemption, but we don't know, like, we're just seeing this snapshot. He killed a lady, so that sucks. But
I think it's also crucial, that is something that you said also, which is that the youngest daughter, like, it seems like the only thing she's guilty of is being a failed actress. Right? Like,
that's what I think, yeah.
But so I agree with you. This is a movie about. I think ultimately it's about how incredibly desperate situations will strip anyone of their humanity, right? Like Ashley, I think, just becomes so terrified of the situation that she becomes impressionable. She becomes open to the suggestion of the other people who are just trying to save themselves, because they're taking advantage of her desperation, and they manipulate that. Even Noah turns into he's defending himself, but there comes a point where they have him trying to kill Ashley. Mm-hmm. This is there are levels here. This is a movie about fuck. Like, you're exactly right. Eat the rich. The movie, there's this backdrop of environmental disasters, right? And they talk about how all these resources are so scarce, and there's all this rationing, and then there's this very just almost thrown away passing shot of a very opulent house with a sprinkler running in a green yard, right? Yep. There's all these homes of these people, they look like Detroit neighborhoods that have just been torn down, and all these desperate people. And then you see just this opulent York mansion. They have all of these foods that are supposed to be contraband. They're staying out past curfew to an extent that, the DOCS shows up after curfew, and there's no other law involved, right? Nobody's like, what are you people all doing out after curfew? You're not supposed to be here. And what all happens here? You see, and Charles York. I don't know that I agree with you on your analysis of what they had on him. I think the implication of destroying his life and locking everything up for his children, I think he felt like he was going to make good on being a bad father. And also, I think when he gives his speech about why he's doing this, I believe him. And I really do think that this was, the coward's list was a statement on, you don't want to be on the red communist list or these sorts of things. I forget the name of the specific list from the Hollywood communist thing. But so I think that was what that was supposed to be. But ultimately,
before you continue,
yes,
can I just say very quickly? That's what I thought on first watch. Second watch, I was listening to Bob's speech before he showed him the papers.
Okay.
And
I'll have to give it another look.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, watch it again, because he's like, wow, I can't imagine a guy would just throw that all away, And it's very pointed. It is very much. And then Charles reacts like, what the fuck is this? Because I think he gave him pictures and proof that he did something really, really terrible. And it at least was an affair. But then I started thinking, when he's talking about, you'll wind up on a list, what other kinds of lists are there?
Sure.
So I don't know if, the child predator thing is that. I think he had some really bad dirt on him. Watch it a second time, because I'm curious if you listen to Bob's speech knowing what's coming, if you're going to read into it like I did.
Oh, I will definitely be watching this one a second time. But yeah, then just ultimately, this descends into chaos. And then they have this moment where, for a moment, it almost lost me, because it was this very almost sort of cliche, they all have their moment of, I realize I'm the bad one and I should go, and I realize I'm the bad one and I should go. And even that, ultimately, when you get to the end of the movie, you realize is a fucking posture, right? The whole thing is a fraud. There's that moment also where he injects the first, because so brilliantly they show us, in the beginning when he's introducing the procedure, it's first we give you the anesthetic, then we give you the one that kills you. And so he hits him with that anesthetic, and the screen just suddenly goes black. And I thought terribly for a moment that they were just going to end the movie like that, and I would have been so upset. But then there's this ending. I think there is so much going on in that ending. I think you need to pay attention to the expressions on everyone's faces in the piano recital, because Noah does not look happy. This is supposed to be his dream, right? This is supposed to be what he's wanted to do with his entire life, and he is clearly not happy. And everybody else is there. Everybody survived.
Including Dawn, looking happy as can be, despite being the cause of everything. She's just like, oh, this is nice. I like pianos.
Yeah, she got talked into signing up. And again, you can't even, I think, hold it against her in the sense that, yes, this is all because of her, but it's not her fault, I think is the way I would say it. You know, she was also a person in an incredibly desperate situation. And so yeah, who, like, all of the terrible people survive. Noah, and it's crucial, of course, that Noah is not a York. Noah is adopted. Like, that's crucial to the whole message here. He's adopted into
the Yorks.
Right, yeah.
Noah
he was adopted by the Yorks.
He's a very complicated character, and that's what I like, because that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying he's necessarily a bad person or a good person. I like that he exists in the in-between. We only have this snapshot where he has a bad relationship with two of his siblings. The other one, he has a strained relationship. He clearly has a very complicated relationship with his father, where he's the only person that his father talks kind of lovingly to. And he seems to really take that into account. He is such a complicated character, and that's one of the things that I do like. So I just want to clarify, I'm not saying he's unlikable because of anything. It's we don't have time to establish, like, are you a good witch or a bad witch? Like, we don't know. You're complicated. You've done some really bad things, but they don't necessarily determine your future. Right.
Now, this is where, and I'm not going to lie, Michelle, I literally just had this thought.
Uh-oh.
So the way this movie ends is we see them injecting the first drug, the anesthetic, and then it cuts to black. The movie is called Humane. What happens in the gap between that blackness and when we see Noah at the piano? What if what happens there is that Noah convinces them to spare Bob's life on some agreement that, like, they're going to do something to try and expose this whole thing. And then Jared and Rachel and Bob and all the bad people just fuck him somehow. We're using the only two people that actually gave a shit about him, which was Grace and Ashley, have now been turned into propaganda tools for the whole thing. Yes. Like, I'm very curious about what happened in that gap. I think that's an interesting part of this story because, again, Noah is, like, there's just something about, has to be some significance to Noah playing that piano. And everybody else, like, also, like, they are not the only ones in the audience. There's this whole crowd of people who are all clearly upper crusty, right? Like, this is basically, like, this is saying this is where we're headed, right? And it's about wealth and power. It's also about military. I think that's a very obvious thing going on here.
Yes.
They refer to enlisting and conscription, and they talk about how it doesn't happen to the rich people. Yeah, the draft is conscription,
absolutely.
Michelle.
Those mean the same. I thought conscription was slightly different.
No, same thing. Basically the same thing. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha. Conscription is just a fancy
word. I said that like such a pedantic asshole. Conscription is the
Captain
draft,
Pedantic.
Michelle. God
we
damn
haven't
it.
seen Captain Pedantic in a while.
But all of that, like again, like this. Don't worry, this doesn't happen to us. This is for those other people. Like, that's
Yep.
a huge element of this.
Absolutely.
The environmental concerns are a huge element of this. I would have liked to have seen, like, I think the way I would say it is I'd almost like to see a companion piece to this movie that explores those backdrop elements against which this story plays out. But yeah, I feel like this is a story ultimately about how, like, if we're not careful, fucking smug, ultra rich and powerful assholes are gonna get us all killed, and they won't give a shit. They won't give a shit.
The God, the bigger world here is so artfully given to us, because there are a lot of things in that first 5 minutes. All those little indications while the children are arriving, the Yorklings are showing up, to tell us like all these different things in this universe. But then throughout the conversations, there's little things slipped in. There's definitely, they talk about undocumented immigrants are now allowed to be part of this program, and that's very like in your face. They make kind of a more offhanded comment about like, wow, those prisons sure opened up in a hurry once prisoners could just die instead of being,
the whole thing about how, like, oh, they're saying the number is 9%, but it's more like 16, and the implication being, oh, we just want to kill more people, and that's also a lot of where the discussion about immigrants happens. This movie is so
wait,
the
I
world
wasn't done.
building. I'm sorry. You're right.
No, it's
right.
Okay. I'm almost done. But the one line that like stuck with me that was just thrown in there, and I don't know why, but I think this perfectly paints a picture of what's going on here, is when Bob shows up and he recognizes Dawn, and he's talking about how great her restaurant would be, and he says that he's always wanted to go to a restaurant. Something so simple in our current world is something he's never had the luxury of doing. And I don't know why that sticks with me so much, but I think it highlighted how different, even though it feels sometimes like we're on a course towards where this movie is going to be, it also shows like how different that world looks in ways that you don't even think of. Where going to a restaurant is not even something that you can do. And here Bob is having this conversation with a family that used to own a restaurant, and he couldn't even go to one to eat. I don't know why, but those little lines that are thrown in, like that one, or saying something like at the very beginning, Charles is talking about like, oh, the piano looks kind of ridiculous in the bedroom, but you're right, it would fit there. And then you find out later that it's because Dawn had wanted whichever, the piano York. She wanted Noah, thank you. She wanted piano York to play while they were killed, and like that was already determined. And like it's just those little things of like, it's never said like, we brought the piano in here for you. He just says like, the piano looks ridiculous in the bedroom, and then later on you see him playing it, and the piano becomes such a big part of it because he never wanted to be a prodigy. Okay, sorry, you can continue now, but just like, I like those tiny things that are worked in that make you think a lot deeper about it.
Yeah, just little details along the way that really also, what I like about the way they present it is, frankly, all they have to do is say ecological collapse and show us people carrying around parasols and taping up their windows. We're all well familiar at this point about what to expect, right? We've been told, for years now, like, this is what is going to happen if we don't do something about it. And so we immediately create our own understanding. Like, we know what this world is just by giving us the keywords, right? Give us the hashtags, and I thought that was really well done. They factor those things in there without hammering them too hard on the head, because in order to get the point of this story, it has to be a small, intimate story like this, right? One thing I did want to mention is even Bob, who, I agree, you're right. I think Bob has kind of lost it, and he just has become addicted to his job, and he likes killing people. But I think even Bob, who, first of all, Enrico Colantoni, who was Veronica Mars's dad on Veronica Mars, he is fucking incredible as Bob. Holy shit. I don't understand how somebody can bring that level of hilarity to something so dark and bleak. But that man's performance was incredible. But it also, I think, contributes to that image of his insanity almost, right? I feel like his wife died, right? She enlisted herself, and he probably did. Like, you have to stop and think, okay, if she enlisted, why didn't he? Right? Because you see that theme. I mean, a lot of times it's couples, or a lot of the smaller families, it's one person choosing to go. But they introduced that theme with Dawn and Charles, and you have to wonder, did the same thing happen with them? Like, is Bob in the DOCS because that's what he had to do to get out of his enlistment contract? And then his wife wouldn't, she died, and now he's just crazy. There's so much more that you could, there's so many levels of this that you build in your own mind just based on how they took. You know what? I'm convincing myself here. I'm bump this up to a 4.5. Same as you. Gonna bump this up to a 4.5. There are still bits of it that I feel are, for a first feature, there's definitely some room to grow, but goddamn, it definitely gave me a lot to think about, and I'm looking forward to watching through it again.
If it had maintained the dark comedy throughout, even in small amounts, I would feel I would have probably a lot more love for this. Just when it loses it and it becomes just purely like the siblings fighting and not really much of that anymore, then it's kind of disappointing because I like the really dark satire at the beginning so much.
Question for you, Michelle.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, I'm just going to be honest. This is one of those questions that I'm going to ask because I just want to answer it myself. But so early on in this movie, did you develop any ideas in your head about where this, like say, for example, specifically in the first 20 minutes where they're setting up the dinner scene and all the kids are coming and they're being, everything up to when they reveal that they've enlisted and they're going to die. Did you have any ideas about what might be going on there, where this might be going? I'm curious if you.
No, I had nothing in mind. I was along for the ride. I didn't know anything about this movie before starting it, aside from it's a Cronenberg film, but I didn't even think body horror. I had no expectations whatsoever. Now, JD, I have a question for you.
No, you don't.
20 minutes into this movie, when they're setting up the dinner scene and all the kids are arriving, did you have any idea where this might be leading to?
I had about a million ideas. The first thing I thought of was because, and it was entirely because of that scene where the guys moving the piano make a comment about how Jay Baruchel's Jared character is a piece of shit, and then they remember, oh, that's the dude's kid who's standing right there's kid, and he says, I'm sorry, and dude just says, don't be, I agree with you. I almost feel like, fuck, where was I going with this? God damn it, Michelle, what happened? I had a whole point I was trying to make here.
You were going to tell me where you thought that the story was going, and it was about Jay Baruchel.
Oh, yeah. I thought I thought for a small period of time that Charles might be bringing all of his kids together to kill them all. Because you've all been terrible and more people need to go. And so I thought it might be going along those lines. Kind of glad it didn't. Kind of curious how it might have played out if that was the case. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Great gore. I don't know. What is it with the Cronenberg kids and stabbing people?
And then putting fingers into cheeks. Oof.
They're both real stabby.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta be kind of stabby. Right before I watched this movie, just as one of those things where sometimes I watch things and I'm like, how did this one, this month is a Georgina Campbell month for me, and it's not on purpose. I just keep watching things with her in it, and I'm not trying to. Right before watching Humane, I watched Silent Night, which, oh my God, I fucking love that movie so much. And it has a very similar premise. So I think that if I had predicted where this was going, I kind of had that in mind, which was exactly kind of what happens. Silent Night is people coming together on Christmas in order to die for the sake of saving the world. Or maybe that, or I don't think they had a choice. Anyway, it's been a little bit since I've seen it. But fantastic dark comedy with a very similar premise. Sweet. So I'm just pointing it out because if people like this kind of film, Silent Night, very similar beginnings, and fucking love that movie so much, so much.
Sweet.
I added it to my personal favorites several months ago, and I kind of want to just go rewatch that. It might be just like a night of like things going terribly wrong because I love that, so I might rewatch Silent Night and Take Shelter because those are like my favorite shit goes wrong.
I guess I'm putting Silent Night on my ever-growing list of shit I need to get around to seeing one of these days.
Yeah, it was a Christmas film. It takes place on Christmas, but I kept thinking like, oh, this is probably like a Christmas slasher. I had no idea why it was on the list, and then one day I wound up being like, we're gonna give in and we're gonna watch this movie, and holy shit, I love it.
Sweet. We haven't had a chance to talk about it on the show yet, so even though it's been all over social media, but I do want to take a moment to say, oh my fucking God, coming up in September, we're bringing Hellbender and Where the Devil Roams to the Fargo Theater, and John Adams and Toby Poser are coming to hang out with us, and we're going to be recording a live episode of the podcast, talking with them. Hopefully having some people in the audience to ask some questions. First of all, I can't believe how goddamn easy it was to make this happen, frankly. We put the whole thing together with about a dozen or so emails. And I want to thank Joe Yannick at Yellow Veil Pictures for being super fucking helpful. I want to thank Toby Poser for literally putting us in contact with the right people to make the whole thing happen. She is amazing. And we're looking forward to meeting them and chatting with them and sharing those movies with Fargo. And frankly, half the reason I decided to try and do this was I just wanted to see those movies on a big screen. And now I get to share it with other people and meet cool people, and I'm excited. If you're in the Fargo-Moorhead area, it's Friday, September 13th. Doors at 5. First movie plays at 5:30. We'll be going till about 10:30 that night. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. You just go to our social medias. You can find links for the tickets. Or the website, wewatchshudder.com. Michelle put a lot of work into a bunch of things for us here. But
Squelch files, which I am continuously building upon.
Oh, God, how many more squelches have you built up in the last couple of weeks? What was it, 500 or so?
No, God, no. Probably like 300 more in the last couple of months, I haven't posted all of them.
Pardon me. Yeah. It's only 300, not 500. What an exaggeration.
Not only do I regularly collect them, but I also stagger them so that if there's a month where I can't put any out, I've got my backlog to fill. So not only do that, I have a very particular, I call it my schedule, of which squelches get posted when on the website. And nobody else will know because I also took like 3 fucking days to figure out how I could make it so that the images show up in a random shuffled order so that they're different every time you visit. So nobody else is going to know except for me. And I did add a 18 plus pop-up because I realized there was literal porn on there. And I should probably put a thing because there was a squelchy porn scene. And there will hopefully be more. I asked a friend of mine. What? Yeah, I asked a friend of mine to start watching porn with subtitles, and they said they would and would report back for squelches.
Oh, God. Michelle, what have I done? Oh, my God.
I really want more porn squelches.
Okay, so let's not talk about porn squelches anymore.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine. I
call it squorn.
Of course you do. So that's where the monster I've created has grown and evolved to. Is now we're apparently we're an adult entertainment company now. focusing
warning.
on squelch
There's a
porn.
warning on the site.
Doesn't make it
Well,
any
there's
less
only
adult
one.
entertainment, Michelle.
There's also a lot of genitals, but you can't tell that bad things are happening to the genitals, so out of context, it could be porn.
Well, if you can't tell that there's bad things happening to the genitals, why are they even on our website?
Because they have a squelching subtitle.
Oh, okay. Well, why do they have a squelching subtitle if nothing bad is happening to the genitals?
Well, one's a birth scene that's very graphic.
That's
One is
dumb.
a dick being cut off.
I thought you
that
said
kind of thing.
nothing's happening to the genitals.
No, I'm saying you can't tell from a still image.
Oh, well, that's dumb.
Yeah, you just see a dick, and then you're like, whoa, it's a dick, and it's squelching. Why? Is this porn? No, it's because the dick's about to get cut off. You just don't see the blade.
I figured you would actually show the blade cutting the...
I would if the subtitle shows up in frame. I consider this an art. I sit there and I, by the millisecond, go through and find the frame that is
by
clear.
frame.
Yes, I find the
Michelle's
one
a frame
that...
by frame squelch hunter.
Yeah, I sit there, and it used to be that I would just grab what I could get, but now I have a system, and I sit there and I analyze, and I go, ooh, I really like the composition here. Oh, shit, the subtitle ends a millisecond beforehand. Can I get that perfect balance of this shot that I want with the subtitle on screen? And I sit there and I frame by frame by frame to see if I can get them to line up. It's an art form. I don't just want like randomly collected squelches. People will send me like an image and they'll be like, hey, I caught this one in this TV show or this movie. I'm like, sweet, thanks for sending that to me. I'm still gonna go collect it because I need to see, is there a better way to frame this? And I will, it might even look exactly the same to the naked eye, but I know better.
Guys, if you are listening for maybe the first time and you have no idea what the hell we're talking about, go to WeWatchShudder.com, click on the squelch files, you'll understand. How many are we up to, Michelle?
Publicly posted 1,558.
And you have how many more still to post?
A couple hundred. I have to go look at exact count.
Rapidly approaching 2,000 squelches. I think that's a day we'll have to have a big party of some kind. 2,000. Michelle,
please.
I think at least on all of your social media bios, on all of your personal profiles, you need to add Squelch Collector as like
Squelch Hunter.
Or Squelch Hunter. Yeah, that works too. Squelch Hunter.
Yeah.
It's like a bounty hunter.
I typed it.
Except
Can you hear me
Squelch Hunter.
typing it?
Yes, I can hear you typing. Okay. I don't know. Oh, one other thing I did want to say. We were at Time Bomb Pro Wrestling last night as we record this. I don't know. Maybe it's 3 years in the future and you're listening. But at least for right now, you can go to YouTube and just look for Time Bomb Pro. And last night's show is already up there and available for you to watch. And it's rad. You should check it out and support them if you like pro wrestling. Do you have anything else you wanted to send up, Michelle?
I am just paging through the website right now, and looking at my squelch files, and goddamn, I'm an artist. It's beautiful what I have compiled here, and I need everybody to go look. God, it's so pretty. I have so many children's TV shows squelching, and those are beautiful because they're never blurred like live action stuff is. A lot of it is like murder scenes. So many murder squelches. That's the majority. But a lot of the animated ones, because it's animated, it's not blurry at all, and it has a lot to do with food. I have a lot of kids shows involving cake batter with squelches. That's a very specific thing. But if you go look at the squelchimation category, because I do spend the time to categorize them, and I have a couple more categories that I want to add, including a dialogue category, because I like the vintage ones where it's somebody using the word squelch in a sentence. But I will have to go back and look at 1,500 images and figure out which ones were dialogue versus a sound effect. Forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, it's fucking beautiful. And you guys, please just go look at it. And then send me a message and just be like, hey, I'm so glad that you didn't waste your life doing this, and that there was a very good reason for it, and that, you know, you didn't just squander all of this potential putting time into the squelch files when you could have been like, I don't know, curing some sort of problem with the world or something important. Please just reassure me that it's okay. Please.
Michelle, it's
You see
totally
that?
okay. You were never going to do anything important anyway, so you might as well just
Fucking
throw
true.
yourself into the squelch file.
You know what? You're so right. You're right. This is the epitome of what I can contribute to the
This
world.
is the best it was ever going to get, so I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. There's a lot of boobs under the let's get squexual category. And there's a
my
lot where,
God.
like, she's naked, but it's also not a good thing. And then I put it as, like, well, technically we're going to put it in the squexual because that's a very small category. And I need more. There.
All right. Well, I think that's about good enough for this week. We've crossed the 60-minute mark. What else could there possibly be left to do but roll out the red carpet for you, my friend? Wait, no, this is not Hot Ones. Say goodnight, Michelle.
God, I want chicken wings now. Okay, good night, Michelle.
Chickens. For more horror content, visit WeWatchShudder.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShudder.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.